10th Cavalry's passing by.
So if they ask you, have you seen us?
If they ask you, have you seen us?
Tell them we gone to Nicodemus.
Tell them we gone to Nicodemus.
So if they ask you, have you seen us?
If they ask you, have you seen us?
Tell them we gone to Nicodemus.
Tell them we gone to Nicodemus.
Fairly well, fairly well.
Fairly well, fairly well.
Kiss the devil, go to hell.
Kiss the devil, go to hell.
So fairly well, fairly well.
And I'm Angela Bates Tompkins. I'm a descendant of those original settlers that came in 1877. Welcome to Nicodemus's 124th Emancipation Celebration here at Nicodemus. Nicodemus is the only remaining all-black town west of the Mississippi that was established in 1877 at the end of Reconstruction. This annual Emancipation Celebration that we're having this weekend, like I said, is our 120th. In 1976, Nicodemus became a National Historic Landmark, and then 1996, Nicodemus became a National Historic Site, a unit of the National Park Service. In 1878, when my great cousin Lula Craig, who was probably just about 10 at the time, made the trip with her parents, she knew that what they were doing was important, so important that she spent her lifetime recording the history of Nicodemus, the people and the activities and the events and some of the things that occurred in and around this town. Because of her, Lula Craig was her name, Nicodemus has been well documented. And over the years, Nicodemus has been studied by historians and people that have been working on masters and their PhDs. And because of the research, extensive research that has happened over the last, well, since the 1920s, Nicodemus has well been documented. And as a result, we are proud to be able to share our history through photographs, through memoirs, through the stories. And my hat is off to my great cousin Lula Craig. And
Tell them we gone to Nicodemus.
Tell them we gone to Nicodemus.
So if they ask you, have you seen us?
If they ask you, have you seen us?
Tell them we gone to Nicodemus.
Tell them we gone to Nicodemus.
Fairly well, fairly well.
Fairly well, fairly well.
Kiss the devil, go to hell.
Kiss the devil, go to hell.
So fairly well, fairly well.
Fairly well, fairly well.
Kiss the devil, go to hell.
Kiss the devil, go to hell.
Whoa, whoa.
My name is Ora Schweitzer, and I've been a widow almost 13 years, and I will soon be 100. I'm 99 years, 6 months, and a few days old. Nicodemus has been a thriving and a big booming town at one time. But after the railroad didn't come by, he didn't let that come through. He went by through Bow, where that makes us. Oh yeah, as every time they all begin to come home because their parents or somebody has saved a little piece of land from them, and they're moving back to Nicodemus as they grow older. They are coming back. What few's left? Not very many of us.
Welcome applaud for Dr. Gail Myers.
The first time I read about Nicodemus, about 5 years ago, I was doing my research. I was working on my doctorate at Ohio State University, and my dissertation involves work with black farmers in Ohio. And I read about this community of people. Nicodemus, first of all, the name got me. And I thought, So I read a little more. I had no idea upon reading that I would be coming to Nicodemus to be a part of the homecoming, let alone speak in front of the descendants. So it is very much an honor and a privilege for me. I remember when I read about the homecoming, and it talked about people coming back to Nicodemus to renew their roots. And I was very, very impressed that this has been going on for 120 plus years. At one point in our history in this country, there were over 60 all black towns. And many of them never left records, like you all have did in Nicodemus. No one wrote about them. But there were several that were very well documented. Mound Bayou in Mississippi is one. Langston City in Oklahoma, Boley, Oklahoma, Allensworth, California, and of course, Nicodumus, Kansas. And these people went to those towns. They came with a hope to live out their dreams. And so
What you want, Cookie?
It's been a long, hot day. Me and the boys, we need a rest right about now.
Rest?
Yeah.
Did you hear what the captain said?
Well,
We ain't got no time to be sitting around playing cards and telling jokes. Before you know it, son done beat us up. Now get to work like the captain said.
Shoot, Captain too hard on us.
What? You don't know what hard is. You just a youngin' anyway.
Yeah.
You ain't never seen no hard days of slavery or felt that old bull whip on your back. I expect you was just a babe with freedom, cuz.
You were still sucking on your mama's tit, weren't you, boy? Shut up, Jimbo Clark Brown.
Oh, you a what?
go crying for his mammy, that's what.
All right, hey, get on back to work before he come out here. You know he gets on the nerves as it is.
Yeah.
Oh, I crossed that big river to be far away from home. I got these chains around my ankles. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I got in trouble with the law. Let that hammer fall. But I didn't get very far. Let that hammer fall. I was riding out with my gang. Let that hammer fall. Whoa, lucky that I wasn't hanged. Let that hammer fall. These railroad tracks are gonna break my back. Let that hammer fall. That spike. Let that hammer fall. From early in the morning till late at night. Let that hammer fall. Whoa, I got a dream one day be free. Let that hammer fall. I said there ain't no man gonna put a chain on me. Let that hammer fall. But that's who we work for, boys, and we can't do a damn thing about it.
Well, I can think of a couple things I'd like to change.
What's that?
We'll take our pay. We get $16 a month, but by the time they take $2 out for the laundry, that only leaves $14.
Are you complaining?
Well, I ain't complaining, but I need every dollar I can get.
They could ride all day in the hottest and coldest of weather and ride all night. But they noticed that the hair on the buffalo looked like the hair on the black man. So they called them the Buffalo Soldiers. Not out of making fun of them, but out of great respect for them. But during all the hardships and adversity, they became the most highly decorated cavalry regiments in all of military history. You see, they received 23 Congressional Medals of Honor, and to this very day, they're the most highly decorated cavalry regiment in all of military history. No one has ever surpassed that number. It always gives us a great honor and great pleasure to present to you America's forgotten heroes, the Buffalo Soldiers. I'm Barry Tompkins, First Sergeant from Nicodumus, Kansas.
I'm James R. Bates. This is my wife, Charlesetta. My age is 75.
Each year.
Everybody, well, this something else. This community is close with. They all just about kin folks around here. This family, this community is made up of all kin folks, and that makes it a real thing. When they come back, they're coming back to visit with cousins, uncles, aunts, grandmothers, grandpas, and things like that. That's what makes it so neat about this community. Growing up here in them days was very bad, hard. Colored folks didn't have them, but all we did is farm. This was a farm community. And at one time, all this land around here, I'd say 6-8 mile range or longer, all was owned by the that people at homestead. This is homestead land. My folks was homesteaded out there. Land wasn't stole. Back there in the early 30s, we call it the dirty 30s. We had storms come through here. The people that owned their land at that time were farming with horses and mules. And when we had that, what they call drought, the dirty 30s, a lot of the farmers went under. Why? Because the government hills up there at the county seat, those folks wasn't putting out loans to the farmers like they did to they wasn't giving the black man a chance. And he lost, all this land was lost that way. I can remember when my father went in the army in World War II, he owed the government land, owed the government for stuff, but was lucky enough he paid the government up. But during them days, if you farming with horses, they'd give you the money to buy a mule and a team, and if you couldn't make it, you had that mule, and the time you paid for the mule and team, pretty soon you started losing. All this land was lost because the government wouldn't back the farmer, the black man. And they still don't do it here. A lot of cows. Government come out here, first thing they said, the cows had some kind of TV. When next thing you know, they went in here and they had to sell the herd off and give them a little or nothing for it. They lost all their cows, but the man over in both cows was okay. Just the little things to knock you down. Negroes, nigger. Oh, no, because if he did, he going to get it behind whipped. Yeah, that's right. We didn't have that. I heard more of that after I left from here than I did when I was here.
Kids growing up.
After I left from here and went to California, I've heard people call you these names. We wasn't called that here. We knew.
Then too, we were taught that when they said nigger and all of that, they was a nigger too, because it was a rudeness of how they acted and related to different people, is why they would never did use nigger and all of that, because we were taught that was the meaning of nigger.
Anybody can be one
of those. And we never heard it when we were kids coming along. We were called by our names and everything. If my son and my daughter in there don't come back or
take interest
in this place or anything, it'll be just gone. Because it's to my age right now, the oldest is here. It's about 4 elderly people or
Well, my name is Louis Schweitzer, oldest grandson of Ora Schweitzer. And my father is Freddie Schweitzer, Ora Schweitzer's oldest son. And I was born in Nicodumus, Kansas, right up across from the Township Hall. And I grew up here. And Cornel asked me the question, why do people come back here every year? People come back here because our roots are here and because of repetition. This celebration has been going on for 125 years. And people always participate and come back. Gives you a chance to get in touch with your roots. And as you talk to my grandmother, you get to get the true value of what's going on in the community, and tradition is passed on through that way. The same with our ancestors before us. Each generation passing on generation. And as people change in a community or wherever you go in life, it's nice to come back, because as more generations come up, there's more of them, and you don't get to know who they are unless they're back here. Because Sola Wilson was a school teacher there. She taught my grandfather, my dad, and a lot of other people in the community. And this lady participated in a foot race at age 75 and outrun everybody in that race in the 7th grade. I never did challenge her because I didn't want the embarrassment in case she outran me. The great honor of graduating from high school with my mother. She came back to school, since I was the reason she dropped out, and graduated at the same time. I had the honor of handing her her high school diploma.
First time I laid eyes on my homestead, I knew that was the place I wanted to live for the rest of my life. Ponderosa pine grew down the north side. Spruce pine grew down the south side. And it looked like every kind of flower that God had ever made was right there on the 160 acres between Hannah and Savoy. Now, if you're not familiar with Hannah and Savoy, that was up in Dakota Territory, between Lee and Deadwood, Lord have mercy, between Lee and Spearfish, sound of his voice is so sweet. The birds stop their singing. Well, there was two running streams right down the middle. And as I surveyed the land, I knew exactly where I would build my house. And I built it in the side of the hill because it'd be warm in the winter and cool in the summer. And I'd have a root cellar because I had a half an acre of garden. And I figured half an acre garden was garden enough for me, a few boarders, and my family. But I had to live a little bit before I could homestead the 160 acres. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Now that song was the song my mammy used to sing to me. Now she was sold down the river. She was from Virginia and was sold all the way down to Arkansas where I was born. Now, I think she bore me in the fall of 49. I think that's when it was. I mean, it was so long ago, I don't remember. But she would always tell me, she gave me the name of Catherine. She'd always tell me, be true to yourself. Always follow the golden rule and let your little light shine. Now, who knows what the golden rule is?
I just don't, I really can't say it. Right now, I really don't. Because I'm the third youngest person on the town site.
And you're how old again?
69. So we need some young folks, you know, young people around. And I just can't see anything unless someone come back and put a business in.
My name is Priscilla Bates. I'm the daughter, the youngest, the last of James and Charles Etta Bates' children. I live in Wichita, Kansas. Current vision of seeing the town back like it was back in 1877. The streets paved, businesses, and family, my generation coming home, bringing their children home to go to school because of the gang, the violence, and all that in the cities. I envision Nicodumus to be back like it was in 1877.
So it's a nice day we have in here. You sure it's nice, Mr. Fella. Where you at to in such a hurry? Business? Well, surely you knew Uncle Philip could be using some entertainment.
What kind of stuff you got in mind, man?
Well, hey, look who I got here. Well, like I said, we got a place down here at Miss Molly's place. You come on with us. I'm sure we give you a nice...
On that! Beautiful women, not getting wrong.
Yes, ma'am. I got a bonus in for you. The women is talking. We all scared. Man, what you gonna do? The women is getting raped. The children ain't safe no more. Man,
Well, the women
you
told
know,
us I was
stop
good.
it. Yeah.
You up to town, boy. Burn it down. Burn a little powder, boy.
Oh, come on.
All right, boys. Drop them guns. Hold up. Drop them guns. Drop, Jeff. Drop the guns. Look here, Jeff. I got you for looting, robbery, and rape. Take you to jail. Drop the guns, boys. My whistle. Yeah, right, boys. Come in before a good time. Drop the gun. Just a good time. Drop the gun, boys. We ain't looking for no drop the gun. I'm a peaceful man. Drop the gun. Marsh! Marsh! These farmers with their women just robbed. Same farmers. Drop the gun. We ain't anything wrong, Jeff. We got two witnesses. Hold up. He's alive. Oh, that's a boy. Going to jail. Let him inside the judge. Marshal, I just passed the lady just told me they was down there behind the dirty. I don't know what no dirt on the set, I don't even like dirt. That wasn't me. Keep them hands up. I ain't never hurt nobody. Keep them hands up.
wanted to learn how to do it, he gave me a paper and diagram. He told me to go home and study it. And he said, come back tomorrow. So I came back the next day. He had a whole harness laid in his yard.
There you are. Wave. Can you wave?
Wave at him. Wave at him.
Can you wave at me?
Wave at him. Benny, look over here. Look at him. Wave.
Can you wave?
My name is Burl Schweitzer. I'll be 70. I'll be 70 years of age on August 6th. On Nicodumus. In fact, I'm right here today, getting ready to celebrate the 124th anniversary of Nicodumus. Boys and my daughter and my grandchildren will understand my values of being part of this community from a historical standpoint, as well as being part of it on an annual, ongoing basis. We farm. We have about 840 acres of land. We farm about 500 acres of cropland. I enjoy that. I'm not sure whether I can afford to continue to farm because it takes away more than I can make.
Hardship or something?
Well, I received some information from the Potawatomi Indians back in 1969, 68, 69, 70. And I was told by a member of that Potawatomi Indian tribe that had it not been for the Potawatomi Indians when the black settlers came to Grimm County, that they may not have survived that first winter. I was told that they were on a buffalo hunt when this occurred. The Potawatomi Indians were on a buffalo hunt, and they ended up coming upon this village in Nicodumus. And there was a black ex-slave that didn't have funds. They didn't have the know-how to make shelter, nor to gather food items. So the Potawatomi Indians shared their hunt. They had buffalo. They shared their hide. They taught them how to make shelter. And so I'm inclined to believe that it was true that I was recognized for national recognition as an athlete in football at K-State, All-American, second team, first team All-American my senior year. But those were some experiences that I'll never forget. And then to cap it all, I did play pro ball with the Green Bay Packers. In fact, I was their fourth draft overall in 1954. This picture here.
Hold it, wait a minute, look, I think in that fire truck there's Freddie. Hey, Freddie, we've been looking for you. We come all the way from Chicago looking for you. We need some new band members. Where you been? Hey, man, come on over here and join us here. You don't need to be in that fire truck.
Right over here. Alex, come in there. Hey, come on back there. Here's my three brothers here now. The black and blue brothers. Yeah, right.
All right there now. All right, guys, let's take our hats off. That's surprised to me. I found my three brothers up here. The blue boys been high. Take off your hat there and watch that colored guard go through. All right there, we got Hill City colored guard there. Well, I appreciate all these guys coming down there helping us in this year 124 years. Y'all don't know how they look. Look how they look good. Get my hands up through there.
Whoa! Whoa!
Okay, I'm Ernestine Vanderwall, who have been born and reared in Nicodemus, Kansas. I lived 30 years in California, in Pasadena, but there's no place like home, so I came back to Nicodemus, and I've been here now about 25 years. And I plan to spend the last years right here in Nicodemus. I went to school here, and my mother, she run a post office here at Nicodemus for years. When the whites would see we blacks on the street, they'd say, "Oh, look at this rain cloud coming," and we were called blacks and we were called niggers and so forth like that. But we didn't get to go into town that often, and especially those dust storm days. We'd be just, say, 2 blocks and a half from the schoolhouse, and it would get all dark from that dirt that was coming in, and we could see the storm, and the teacher would dismiss us to come home because that dust storm came in, and you couldn't see hardly your hand before you, and that was tough times. Yeah, and a lot of times we'd go to bed, and we had the bedsteads where the mother would hang sheets, wet sheets, from corner to corner over the bed where we slept. And in the morning, it would be sagged from that heavy dust that it blew it through the windows, and so things like that. Oh, it was a critical life.
I found my 3 brothers up here. The blue boys been high. Take off your hat there and watch that colored guard go through. All right, there, we got Hill City. Colored guard, Jack. Well, I appreciate all these guys coming down there helping us in this year 124 years. Y'all don't know how they look. Look how they look at them good. Give my hands up through there.
Whoa!
All right, Jack. Look, these guys. All right.
Yeah, my name is Alfred Sayers, and my dad's name was Calvin Sayers. His dad's name was Calvin Sayers, and his mother's name was Josephine Walton. I've been coming to Nicodumus for the last 6-7 years, and now I've got my grandkids and my kids coming, and I hope this goes on forever.
We love Nicodemus.
Don't get too close to them horses. Stay back. All right, then. Y'all looking good, then. All right.
Harold Schweitzer. My age is 72 years old. And I used to farm here some years ago, and I had 300 acres of hybrid corn. The dust came, after I got out of service, the dust came and blew me out. And I sat around and thought about it, and then I got up and said, I'm going somewhere.